The space station's alarm shrieked through the corridors like a dying banshee, red lights painting everything in hellish crimson. Captain Zara Chen stepped off the transport shuttle, her worn combat boots making soft thuds against the metal deck. On her shoulder sat Mr. Whiskers, a small orange tabby cat who was currently grooming his paw with the kind of casual indifference that only cats could master. "Sweet mother of binary stars," whispered Station Commander Rex, his 6 eyes bulging from their stalks as he watched the human approach. "Is that thing purring?" The sound was indeed audible over the alarms, a deep, rumbling vibration that seemed to emanate from the small creature's chest. Every alien in the docking bay had frozen in place, their various appendages trembling with barely contained terror. "Oh, this little guy?" Zara scratched behind Mr. Whiskers' ears, causing the purring to intensify. "He's harmless, aren't you, buddy?" The Galactic Council's emergency session had been called 3 days ago. 3 days since the Krelak Empire made their ultimatum. 3 days since they demonstrated their new planet-cracking weapon by turning the peaceful world of Harmony 7 into cosmic dust. Zara remembered the message clearly. The Krelak Emperor's mandibles had clicked with malicious glee as he spoke. "Surrender your systems to the Empire within 7 rotations, or watch your precious Earth burn like the insignificant rock it is." What the Krelak didn't know, what none of the galaxy's species seemed to understand, was that humans had a very particular way of dealing with bullies, and Zara Chen had spent her entire military career perfecting that art. "Commander Rex," she said, her voice carrying that special brand of sweetness that usually preceded violence. "I trust my request for a private meeting with the Krelak delegation has been approved?" "Why, yes, Captain Chen," Rex stammered, his tentacles writhing nervously. "But are you certain about bringing that creature into the council chambers? Our xenobiology experts are still analyzing the footage from your homeworld. The things they discovered are," he shuddered, "terrifying." Zara's laugh was sharp as broken glass. "Terrifying? Mr. Whiskers here once caught a mouse in 0 gravity. That takes skill, Commander. Real skill." The assembled aliens exchanged horrified glances. The reports from Earth had been flooding in ever since first contact. Humans kept predators as companions. Not just any predators, but apex predators that had evolved specifically to hunt and kill. The psychological profile suggested these creatures, called cats, were responsible for the extinction of multiple species on their homeworld. And humans treated them like beloved family members. "The Krelak delegation is waiting in Conference Room 7, Rex managed to croak. "They brought their own security detail." "How thoughtful," Zara replied, stroking Mr. Whiskers' fur. The cat opened one eye, surveyed the crowd of terrified aliens, and promptly went back to sleep. "Tell me, Commander, have you ever seen what happens when you corner a mouse?" "And no, Captain. The mouse fights back. But here's the thing about cats." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than a shout. "They don't corner their prey. They play with it first." The walk through the station's corridors was like a parade of terror. Aliens pressed themselves against the walls as Zara passed, their eyes fixed on the small orange creature that seemed completely oblivious to the fear it inspired. Mr. Whiskers had shifted positions, now lying draped across Zara's shoulder like a fuzzy orange scarf, his tail swishing lazily. "Captain," came a voice from behind her. She turned to see Lieutenant Torres, her second in command, jogging to catch up. His face was grim. "Intelligence just intercepted Krelak communications. They're planning to make an example of you. Something about demonstrating human weakness in front of the council." Zara's smile could have powered a small star. "Are they now? How delightfully naive. Should I alert the fleet?" "Not yet, Torres. Let's see how this plays out first. Besides," she gestured to Mr. Whiskers, who had opened his eyes at the sound of her voice, "I brought backup." The lieutenant glanced at the cat with the kind of expression usually reserved for looking at active fusion bombs. "Ma'am, with all due respect, the Krelak had brought 50 of their best warriors." "And I brought 1 cat," Zara replied. "I like my odds." Conference Room 7 was packed. The Krelak delegation occupied one side of the massive table, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh lights. Each warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall, their razor-sharp claws extended in a display of intimidation. Various other species had sent observers, all keeping a respectful distance from both the Krelax and the human. At the head of the table sat war leader Thax, the Krelax's most feared general. His mandibles dripped with some kind of acidic saliva that hissed when it hit the floor. When Zara entered the room, his compound eyes fixed on her with predatory focus. "So," Thax clicked, his voice like grinding metal. "The humans send one female and her pet to negotiate their surrender. How quaint." Zara took her seat across from him, gently lifting Mr. Whiskers from her shoulder and placing him on the table. The cat immediately began exploring, sniffing at the various alien devices scattered about. "Oh, we're not here to surrender," she said conversationally. "We're here to discuss the terms of your withdrawal from human space." The room erupted in clicking, chittering, and various other sounds of alien amusement. Thax's laugh was like breaking glass mixed with screaming metal. "You jest, human. We have crack planets. We have fleets that blot out suns. What do you have?" Mr. Whiskers had discovered a small decorative crystal on the table and was batting at it with his paw. The crystal rolled toward the edge, and one of the Krelax warriors instinctively reached out to catch it. The moment his claw came within 6 inches of the cat, Mr. Whiskers' demeanor changed completely. The transformation was instantaneous and terrifying. One moment he was a lazy house cat playing with a trinket. The next, he was a coiled spring of pure predatory intent. His pupils dilated to black circles, his ears flattened against his head, and his back arched as he hissed. The sound that came from Mr. Whiskers' throat was something primal, something that spoke to the deepest, most ancient fears buried in every creature's DNA. It was the sound of death approaching on silent pause. It was the last sound a mouse heard before the lights went out forever. 50 Krelax warriors, each one a veteran of 1,000 battles, each one bred for war and violence, took an involuntary step back from a 12-pound house cat. "That," Zara said into the stunned silence, "is what we have. We have creatures that evolved to hunt, to kill, to survive in environments that would break your species' collective mind. And we made them into our companions. We invite them into our homes, sleep next to them, trust them with our children." Mr. Whiskers had relaxed back into his normal position, but his eyes remained fixed on the Krelax warrior who had dared to approach. The warrior in question was making small whimpering sounds and had backed against the far wall. "The human speaks truth," whispered Ambassador Kellix of the Zentari Union. "Our xenobiology teams have been studying their world. These cats are responsible for the extinction of entire species. They kill not just for food, but for pleasure, for sport. And humans," he shuddered, "humans bred them to be even more efficient killers." "That's not entirely accurate," Zara corrected with mock offense. "We also bred them to be adorable. Didn't we, Mr. Whiskers?" The cat meowed once, a sound that somehow managed to contain within it the screams of 1,000 vanquished prey animals. Then he rubbed his head against Zara's hand and began purring again. War leader Thax was trying to regain his composure, but Zara could see the cracks forming in his facade. Sweat was beading on his exoskeleton, despite the fact that Krelax didn't normally sweat. "This is meaningless," he stammered. "One small predator does not a fleet make." "Oh, but that's where you're wrong," Zara said, pulling out a data pad. "You see, humans have a saying, 'Curiosity killed the cat.' It's ironic, really, because nothing kills cats. They're perfect killing machines wrapped in fuzzy packages. But humans are curious about everything, including what happens when you threaten our families." She activated the data pad, and a holographic display filled the center of the room. It showed the edge of the Sol system, where dozens of human ships were jumping in from hyperspace. But these weren't military vessels. These were civilian ships, cargo haulers, passenger liners, even ancient colony ships that should have been in museums. "Every human ship in known space received our call," Zara continued. "Every captain, every pilot, every engineer who could strap an engine to a hull and point toward Krelax space. And every single one of them brought their cats." The display zoomed in on one of the cargo ships. Through its viewports, hundreds of small shapes could be seen moving about. Cats, thousands of them, each one a descendant of Earth's most successful predators. You want to know what happens when you threaten a human's family? Zara asked, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the room. We don't just fight back. We get creative. War leader Thax was now openly trembling. This is impossible. How could such small creatures pose a threat to our mighty empire? Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to stretch, extending his claws fully. The razor-sharp talons gleamed under the lights, each one designed by millions of years of evolution to pierce, grip, and tear. Then he yawned, revealing teeth that, while small, were perfectly designed for one purpose: killing. The average house cat can leap 10 times its body length, Zara said conversationally. They can see in almost complete darkness. Their reflexes are faster than your neural networks can process. They can squeeze through any opening larger than their skull, and they never, ever give up once they've marked something as prey. She leaned forward, her eyes meeting Thax's compound gaze. Now imagine 10,000 of them, confined in a small space, hungry and very, very annoyed about being disturbed during nap time. How do you think they'd react if someone, say, boarded their ship uninvited? The silence stretched for long moments, broken only by Mr. Whiskers' purring and the subtle hum of the station's life support systems. Finally, Thax spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What are your terms? Zara's smile was radiant. Simple. You would draw from all human territories immediately. You return any human prisoners or property you've taken, and you never, ever threaten Earth or any human world again. She paused, scratching Mr. Whiskers behind the ears. Oh, and you sent a formal apology to the Feline Rights Coalition. Mr. Whiskers here is their spokesperson. The cat meowed once, managing to sound both adorable and absolutely terrifying at the same time. War leader Thax looked around the room at his warriors, saw the fear in their eyes, then looked back at the small orange creature that had somehow reduced the galaxy's most feared military force to quivering insects. We accept your terms. Excellent, Zara said, standing from her chair with Mr. Whiskers perched regally on her shoulder. I'm so glad we could reach an understanding without any unnecessary bloodshed. Though I should mention, the cats were getting quite restless on the journey here. War leader Thax's mandibles clicked nervously as he processed the implications. Restless? Oh, yes. You see, cats have very specific routines. Breakfast at 0700, morning hunt at 0900, nap time from 11 to 1400. She checked her chronometer with exaggerated concern. We're well into prime hunting hours now, and they haven't had their morning kill quota yet. Ambassador Kellix of the Zentari Union raised a trembling appendage. Kill quota. Standard feline requirement. 3 to 7 small prey animals per day, per cat. Some prefer live prey. Others are satisfied with toys that simulate wounded animals. Zara's voice carried the casual tone of someone discussing the weather. When they don't get their quota, well, they tend to get creative about finding substitutes. Mr. Whiskers yawned again, his pink tongue curling as he stretched. Several alien delegates involuntarily stepped backward. The movement seemed to amuse the cat, who fixed his golden eyes on them with the kind of focused attention usually reserved for wounded birds. Perhaps, Thax managed, his voice cracking slightly, we could discuss the logistics of our withdrawal. How quickly would you require our forces to vacate human space? Oh, I'm thinking immediately, Zara replied cheerfully. You see, I made a promise to about 12,000 ship cats that they'd get to stretch their legs on some nice Krelak vessels if this negotiation didn't go smoothly. They've been cooped up in hyperspace for 3 days. Do you know what happens to a bored cat? The room held its collective breath. Nobody wanted to know, but the question hung in the air like a sword. They redecorate. Zara continued with a grin that could have powered a small moon, usually by shredding everything in sight. Curtains, furniture, important wiring systems, life support conduits. They're not particularly discriminating about what constitutes a proper scratching post. War leader Thax's exoskeleton had gone from glossy black to a sickly pale gray. You're saying it would damage our ship's critical systems? Damage. Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells mixed with breaking bones. Oh, Thax, you sweet summer cicada. They wouldn't damage your ships. They'd improve them. From a cat's perspective, every wire, every tube, every carefully calibrated component is simply an interactive toy waiting to be played with. Lieutenant Torres, who had been standing quietly by the door, chose that moment to step forward. Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Reyes aboard the New Houston. Zara activated her comm unit, and Admiral Reyes' voice filled the room. Captain Chun, please tell me you're making progress with the negotiations. The cats are getting antsy, and Chief O'Malley's tabby. Just figure out how to open the torpedo bay doors. Copy that, Admiral. Progress is excellent. War Leader Thax was just explaining how quickly his forces can vacate our space. There was a pause. Then a different voice came through the comm. This is Chief O'Malley, Captain. Princess Mittens has taken control of the weapons console. She's sitting on the firing button, and every time I try to move her, she gives me that look. You know the one. Every human in the room nodded knowingly. The aliens looked confused until Zara explained. The look Chief O'Malley is referring to is what we call the murder mittens expression. It's the face cats make right before they decide you need to be hunted. It usually involves dilated pupils, flattened ears, and a particular tilt of the head that says, I have calculated exactly how many different ways I can end you, and I'm choosing the most entertaining one. Mr. Whiskers demonstrated the look perfectly, fixing his gaze on a nearby Krelak warrior. The warrior made a sound like escaping gas, and tried to hide behind his much larger companion. Admiral, Zara continued, please inform Chief O'Malley that Princess Mittens is simply expressing her professional opinion about target acquisition. I'm sure she's identified several suitable candidates. Roger that. Captain, should I prepare the boarding parties? Thax practically screamed. Boarding parties? Standard procedure. Zara explained with mock innocence. When cats identify prey, humans typically provide transportation to ensure a successful hunt. It's a symbiotic relationship that's worked for thousands of years. The war leader's compound eyes darted frankly around the room, looking for escape routes that didn't exist. But we accepted your terms. We agreed to withdraw. Yes, but you haven't actually started withdrawing yet. Zara pointed out reasonably. And cats are very impatient creatures. Mr. Whiskers here has already begun planning his infiltration route through your flagship's ventilation system. As if summoned by his name, Mr. Whiskers stood up on Zara's shoulder and stretched, his claws extending fully. He then looked directly at the nearest air vent and rode softly, the sound somehow conveying detailed tactical analysis and violent intent. Commander Vrex, who had been silent throughout the exchange, suddenly spoke up. War Leader Thax, if I may offer some advice based on our xenobiological studies of Earth fauna, the reports indicate that feline hunting behavior includes something called surplus killing. What does that mean? Thax whispered, though his tone suggested he really didn't want to know. It means, Vrex continued with the clinical detachment of someone delivering a terminal diagnosis, that when prey is abundant, cats don't stop at killing just enough for sustenance. They continue hunting until there is no more prey available. It's an evolutionary adaptation that ensured survival during lean times. The implications hit the Krelak delegation like a meteor strike. If the cats viewed them as prey, they wouldn't stop at killing a few. They'd systematically eliminate every single Krelak they could find. Furthermore, Vrex added helpfully, cats often present their kills as gift to humans they're bonded with. It's a sign of affection and social bonding. War Leader Thax looked like he was about to molt on the spot. Gifts? Oh, yes, Zara chimed in brightly. Just last week, Mr. Whiskers brought me a lovely rat he'd caught in the ship's cargo bay. Left it right on my pillow. It was very thoughtful, though I imagine Krelak heads are considerably larger and might not fit as neatly on the bed sheets. Mr. Whiskers purred louder, as if agreeing with the assessment of his gift-giving capabilities. Please, Thax begged, his voice barely audible. What do you need from us to call off your predators? Zara pretended to consider this carefully. Well, immediate withdrawal is just the start. We'll also need reparations for the worlds you've threatened. Say, 50 billion galactic credits should cover the emotional trauma your ultimatum caused our cats. 50 billion? Have you ever tried to console a stressed cat? Zara asked seriously. It requires premium treats, imported catnip, and specialized therapy toys. The cost adds up quickly. Lieutenant Torres stepped forward again. Captain, additional transmission from the fleet. Captain Martinez aboard the San Antonio reports that her cat, El Diablo, has learned to operate the artificial gravity controls. He's currently amusing himself by making Krelak prisoners float helplessly while he stalks them from below. Stalks them? Thax's voice cracked completely. Standard hunting behavior, Zara explained. Cats prefer to observe their prey extensively before striking. They study movement patterns, identify weaknesses, plan their attack vectors. El Diablo is probably learning everything he can about Krelak anatomy before he decides whether you're worth killing. Whether we're worth killing? Cats are very discriminating predators. They won't waste energy on prey that doesn't provide adequate entertainment value. Too easy and it's boring. Too difficult and it's inefficient. But when they find that perfect balance of challenge and vulnerability, well, she smiled fondly at Mr. Whiskers. That's when the real fun begins. The cat chose that moment to begin grooming himself, licking his paw and running it over his ears in a display of casual indifference that somehow managed to be more terrifying than any threat. I need to contact my fleet commanders, Thax said desperately. Order immediate withdrawal from all human territories. Wonderful, Zara replied. While you're doing that, I should probably mention that cats have excellent hearing. They can detect ultrasonic frequencies well beyond human range. So if you're planning to send any coded withdrawal orders that might contain secret instructions to maintain position or call for reinforcements, well, Mr. Whiskers will know. The cat's ears swiveled toward Thax like furry radar dishes, tracking his every movement. Also, Zara added conversationally, cats never forget a scent. Once Mr. Whiskers has marked you as prey, he'll be able to track you across the galaxy, through hyperspace, through environmental suits, even through those fancy cloaking fields your ships use. Evolution gave cats a lot of tools for hunting, but persistence is probably their most terrifying trait. Thax activated his personal communicator with shaking claws. All units, this is War Leader Thax, implement immediate Code 7 withdrawal from all human territorial boundaries. All ships are maintained maximum distance from human vessels and proceed directly to Imperial space. No delays, no exceptions. Code 7, his subordinate's voice crackled through the comm, sir. That's the retreat code for encounters with cosmic-level threats. Just do it. Thax snapped, and send priority message to High Command. The humans have weaponized predatory fauna. Recommend immediate reclassification of human space as a no-fly zone. Zara clapped her hands together delightedly. See how easy that was? Diplomacy really is the best solution to interstellar conflicts. Mr. Whiskers murmured in agreement, then hopped down from Zara's shoulder and began exploring the conference table again. Every alien in the room tracked his movement like their lives depended on it. Now then, Zara continued, settling back into her chair, let's discuss those reparations and the formal apology. And I think we should probably establish some kind of cultural exchange program. I'm sure the galaxy would benefit from learning more about human-feline partnerships. Cultural exchange? Ambassador Kellix squeaked. Oh, yes. Think of it as an educational initiative. Other species could observe how humans and cats work together, learn about our hunting techniques, our bonding rituals, our methods of prey identification and elimination. It would be very enlightening. War Leader Thax was now openly hyperventilating, his respiratory system making sounds like a malfunctioning air recycler. Please, we'll pay whatever you ask. Just keep your predators away from Krelak space. I'm afraid that's not entirely up to me, Zara said with mock regret. You see, cats are independent contractors. They choose their own missions, select their own targets. I can't really control where they decide to hunt next. Mr. Whiskers had discovered a Krelak ceremonial dagger on the table and was batting at it with scientific interest. Each tap of his paw moved the blade closer to the edge, and every alien in the room watched its progress with horrified fascination. But Zara added brightly. Cats are also very practical creatures. If they have plenty of entertainment and stimulation in human space, they're less likely to go exploring elsewhere. More shipments of premium tuna, better climbing structures on our vessels, maybe some live prey for training exercises. Live prey, Thax whispered. Nothing too exotic. Maybe some of those Krelak scout drones that have been buzzing around our border systems. Cats love things that move erratically and try to escape. It's excellent exercise for them. The ceremonial dagger finally teetered off the edge of the table. Mr. Whiskers watched it fall with intense satisfaction, then looked up at the assembled aliens as if to say, "Your move." "Agreed," Thax said quickly. "All agreed. Reparations, apologies, culture exchanges, whatever you require. Just please, in the name of all that's holy in the universe, keep those things away from our worlds." Zara stood up and scooped Mr. Whiskers back onto her shoulder. The cat settled in comfortably, purring like a small, fluffy engine of destruction. "Pleasure doing business with you, war leader. Oh, and one more thing." She paused at the door, her smile sharp as a laser cutter. "If we ever detect Krelak ships in human space again, I won't be bringing just one cat to the negotiations." "How many would you bring?" Thax asked, though his tone suggested immediate regret at the question. Zara's grin could have lit up a space station. "All of them." As she walked out of the conference room, Mr. Whiskers looked back over her shoulder at the assembled aliens. His golden eyes gleamed with satisfaction, and his purr had taken on a distinctly smug quality. Behind them, the sound of 50 Krelak warriors simultaneously fainting echoed through the chamber. The galaxy's deadliest predator had won again, and he'd done it without even extending his claws.